On February 27th of 2026, Fish received its full 1.0 release. As early as its open beta, the VR chat world rose to pretty quick fame amongst many players of the game, even receiving a front-page advertisement during its full release. Players charted the seas and fished across the isles, left with a lot to discover. NPCs, side quests, and all sorts of other things were littered across the world, without much hand-holding really given to the players. But as they sought to learn more about this aquatic paradise, something else began to rear its head. Something unexpectedly strange. While Fish has a vibrant and cartoony aesthetic, it already had its own fair of strange things. There's side quests that involve aliens, a lot of strange NPCs, and other occasional oddities. The game definitely plays around with a weird atmosphere, but you would be forgiven for not picking much up on it. It's usually played in more of a zany way, and due to the nature of the game being a social experience, most players don't really have the time to stop and appreciate that atmosphere. But near the time of its full release, something put that atmosphere front and center. On Tanglewood, the game's Swamp Island, the drab, murky atmosphere is made a whole lot worse, and players reported finding a note depicting some kind of strange creature, and later saying that strange creature could be found stalking them. It was said that unsettling ambience would play when you're being watched by the creature, and many of my friends reported hearing just that before we knew about this mystery, assuming it's just a strange Easter egg. While we were at first content just to write the page off as a reference, maybe nudging the players into feeling a little scared by the island, with the stories of the sound effects and later photo evidence, I just couldn't shake the feeling like I needed to look into what was going on here. Even if it's just this strange little Easter egg, it's too much going on for me to leave alone. The figure was all black, with a white face that seemed unnatural. He had a bunch of spikes around his head, which many compared to an urchin, but also to the sun. The community quickly adopted a name for this creature, calling it the Sunman. Everything at first seemed to point towards Tanglewood, a swampy island with a strange atmosphere all on its own. While the dark marsh and dense forest of this island might already unsettle some players, there's even more strangeness going on under the hood. There aren't too many NPCs outside of the starting area, with the only real major landmark that features any NPCs being the church. The church itself is a little off, with a giant Eye of Sauron looking beacon outside of it, and the inside is a little cramped. The NPC inside will tell you about a curse that's plaguing the waters, and will say that if you get any cursed fish, you should bring them to her to bless them. The outside of the church also features a graveyard, which probably explains the couple ghosts here. The first one I haven't seen since the beta, but they're just a headless figure that doesn't really have anything to say. Strange, but in line with the game's weird Easter eggs I've seen so far. And another one who appears at night, claiming to be from the underworld and serving as a shopkeeper. That's all to say that finding a note with a Slenderman-esque character here didn't feel super out of place, and taken on his own isn't really much to stop and stare at. But with these further developments, it ended up being our first real clue to investigate. While we had heard rumblings of Sunman potentially appearing on other islands, as well as contention on where the note was, the swamp was definitely our first place to go. Not only did we definitively hear someone mention a note there in the beta, it just felt right. Opening a private instance, I investigated the swamp with my partner, and we didn't find anything directly leading to him, but we did experience a dense atmosphere and found some other strange discoveries. At this point, it was hard to say if anything we'd really seen had any connection to our greater mystery here. Sure, the island was very unsettling, but it might just always be this way. It had a weirdly oppressive vibe in general, but we would always fish in groups, so we didn't really have time to focus on it. How much of it was just our mind playing tricks on us and letting ourselves get scared because we were alone and in VR? But as I said though, we still found some strange sights. I did get some direct footage of our investigation, though I'm not particularly amazing when it comes to camera work in VR just yet. And my tracking is also not so great either. I only caught any creepy audio once, as well as our live reaction to one of the more interesting areas of the swamp we hadn't seen just yet. Oh, I'm hearing the creepy music too. I don't like this.
See? Fuck that
I don't
shit.
like this. Oh my god. Hold on.
Yeah, it's bad.
Watch, this is where I'm gonna see something and the camera's gonna be messed up so I can't, What the hell? I heard those piano hits, okay. I do not like this in the slightest.
Dude, you can't see jack shit, man.
Oh, now we can.
Oh wait, it's daytime.
You know, like...
Why is this here?
I don't know.
There's nothing in here. Don't worry, it's daytime, so like, it's nice out. Come on.
Still, I'm hearing those weird sounds, I think. Like, even if that's just fish, those are some weird noises.
Fish.
I was having some audio trouble at the start of my recording, so I couldn't pick up everything, but there was definitely a lot of weird ambience going on there. It was hard to say what was part of the map and what might have had to do with our strange figure, but we didn't see him with our own 2 eyes, and we didn't even have any luck finding the note at first. We knew it was on a tree, but all the trees have these white markings on them that can be hard to differentiate from a note. Part of me even wanted to speculate that it might be slashes on the trees or something dramatic, but I'm almost certain it's just meant to be fungus. The abandoned cabin we found, while creepy and definitely in an odd spot, didn't give us any clues either. Though, later when not recording, I explored more of the area and I found an even smaller cabin with an NPC. Named Billy Bob, he seemed to just kind of be a stereotype of a crazy old southerner, but he did have some interesting things to say. Mainly, he had a line about someone going swimming behind the rocks and never coming back, and a line mentioning the mayor of Crescent Isles being missing. We were already set to explore Crescent Isles because a friend had mentioned something about it in relation to the Sunman, but this gave me a little more to consider. Unfortunately though, our exploration of the Crescent Isles didn't go very long. It's a much smaller island and there really isn't a lot of place to look around for the Sunman. The most interesting discovery we had was a texture on the side of a mountain which probably unintentionally looked like a face. Feeling fairly discouraged by everything, I wrapped up a little investigation phase for the time being. My partner and I just fished, as I asked a few people in Discord who had seen the notes where exactly they found them. But after stepping away, not only did a friend tell me exactly where to find one of the notes, but my partner also made some interesting discoveries at the last place we expected. A friend had tipped me off that one of the notes can be found in the Luxian Dunes, the desert island. Not only that, it's tucked away in a cave, behind a waterfall, under a giant skull rock. While looking for it, my partner managed to find another lead that really got us back on track. Added to the 1.0 release was a red gem, which could be fished up as part of the relic fishing pool. Normally, relics are reserved for enchanting your fishing rod, but at first the red gem lacks a clear purpose. And during my investigation, I was made aware that there's a green gem you can find at the top of Crescent Isles' volcano. These two are key items, meaning instead of something that just simply gets added to your fishing inventory, they're part of a quest chain. While we were confused at first, my partner discovered an area that led us to understand their usage in the game. On the coast of the dunes lies what appears to be the entrance to a tomb. Unlike a lot of areas that just seem to have giant doors that can't open, this was actually blocked by an NPC. Named Harrison, you're required to give him a fish in order to get entry into the room. Interestingly, the fish you need to give him is the American alligator, which can only be found at Tanglewood. Once that's done, you get access to the room, which is full of NPCs and a lot of weird little scattered objects, including a framed picture of Germa. The main object of focus, though, was a shrine where the gems we'd collected could be used, but there was a symbol on there that just looked too familiar. This ended up marking the end of our official investigation process, though. We weren't really sure where else to go. We had learned that the third missing gem to complete this ritual becomes available for purchase at level 50. We also learned that the process simply unlocks the ability to enter a volcano, which was something that was teased in the beta releases, but only properly added with 1.0. While I was kinda glad this quest chain didn't give some kind of explicit answer to the mystery, I was still a little disappointed to find out that we were at a dead end again. It seemed like really meeting the Sunman would come down to pure RNG, and unfortunately I've yet to see him since. But thankfully this wasn't the end of the rabbit hole. While I had initially operated under the assumption there was only one note, I was vexed by the fact that it was found in the dunes of all places, especially since I had remembered someone mentioning a note during the beta, back in the swamp. And sure enough, there are two, and we just barely missed finding it in our investigation. I'd found it out while casually fishing later that night, and I also made another discovery. In the town of Crescent Isle, there's a tunnel that's been caved in. Normally, it would lead to that volcano that the quest allows you to enter, but this area is blocked off by an NPC. You have to take a more underground route to enter the volcano. But this NPC does have something interesting to say about the cave-in. He mentions a portal opening and a strange, slender figure coming out of it. I realized this is what my friend was talking about when he said something about the figure at Crescent Isles. Is this our Sunman? It would make some sense. Consider two things. For one, that quest chain we mentioned earlier, while it's hard to say that's an explicit reference to Sunman, the shrine resembling the sun is still worth noting, especially since it doesn't feel too far off from how he looks. And this shrine granting you access to the volcano, which is right near where the Sunman was first sighted, it draws some level of connection. But also, Billy Bob mentioned that Crescent Isle's mayor has been missing for months now, and while I don't believe we have a specific time frame for when the cave-in occurred, it's still one strange loose end connected to another in an area where we know the Sunman was almost certainly active at some point. It even seems like there's another NPC in the Isles that has some ominous things to say, though it's vague enough that it really could be anything. But this also raises another question in my mind. How does the Sunman travel? Going on the assumption that he first appeared in the Crescent Isles, he has, at the very least, been sighted and acknowledged by people both in the dunes and in Tanglewood. However, it appears players can find him on just about any island. The fact that he appeared around a portal could just be a sign that he uses some sort of teleportation. But we really lack any idea how he travels. His appearances see him completely static. The only movement he makes is completely disappearing when a player sees him, which could be another point to him having some level of teleportation. But who's to say he can't just swim either? Maybe his urchin-like appearance is some level of camouflage too. This also raises the question of his origin, just where exactly did he come from? In a world where we have concrete evidence of aliens and the supernatural, it's not really like we can brush anything off, but he's definitely treated with more gravity than the rest of them. Portal could suggest some sort of extraterrestrial origin, but it's hard to say for sure. Personally, I bring my attention back to the dunes, and specifically that shrine. Another NPC in that room mentions being asleep for over 300 years and not really knowing much about their past. The dunes are very obviously inspired by ancient Egyptian culture, and although we don't have too many direct parallels, including nothing to the sun god in Egypt, Ra, it still suggests the culture of the island from many years past. Would it be too far-fetched to say the Sunman might come from this era as well? The shrine being a relic of a time when he was worshipped, perhaps as a god or just perhaps out of fear. Another recent development concerning the dunes is that there's human skeletons found around. And let me remind you that all the NPCs in this game are little cute animal creatures, not anywhere humanoid. It appears like these NPCs have been living here for a long time, but there is slight bits of evidence, like some of the garbage you can fish up, including a baby doll that's way more human. The only humanoids that exist on this world are the players, assuming they even use an avatar like that, and the Sunman. There's so much that could be speculated off of this. Is the Sunman some kind of ancient entity or deity, perhaps responsible for why there's no more humans? Or perhaps the Sunman is human, or at least was, and whatever got rid of them all turned him into this, or maybe just years of isolation caused this. I really don't even know what to say. I don't have a theory I'm leaning to because there's just so much. Who knows if these skeletons even have anything to do with him? And all of this runs back to the question of what he's even doing and why he's watching the players. You can assume malicious intent, but we don't know. He runs when you see him. The notes give us a more ominous picture, but who's to say that that's actually accurate? And who's to say what leads I'm missing? It's so early, a lot of what I put in this video is stuff that I found out after I started it. And I'm sure by the time this is out, there'll be more information that might recontextualize a lot of what I'm saying. I could mention things like Harrison asking for an alligator that comes from the swamp, which is an area that seems pretty connected to the Sunman. But it could also just be that it's a rare fish, and a crocodile is kind of in line with Harrison's whole reference to Indiana Jones. We're still learning more about the Sunman. From what I've seen, he's insanely popular amongst Japanese players especially. We keep discovering more small bits, which might even be loose ends that will get connected later in future updates. Because remember, this game is still in development too. A proper encounter with the Sunman seems like it's up to pure chance, and all it really entails is getting stalked by him. Who knows how, if even at all, we can get more out of him. He might not even have a full model, but I don't want to spoil the magic too much if that's true. And with his popularity, I have seen some players trying to remedy that with more humorous results. I feel this mystery is still very much in its infancy. Every day it seems like I see another tweet, someone detailing their experiences and occasionally giving us something completely new to look into. I didn't expect any answers, but I also didn't expect to get this much out of it, and I only hope that by covering it here we can get some more eyes on this and hopefully learn more. There was a time at the start of this mystery when I had to convince people that it was even real and not just some kind of hoax or played up Easter egg. But now we don't even know how far it goes. The developers have mentioned he's tied into the game's lore. This rabbit hole absolutely goes deeper, with way more evidence out there, and the Sunman himself is still lurking. His existence has become such a phenomenon that players have had to warn one another about him and how to deal with him. The developer is even implementing a toggle to get rid of him, so players who want a chill atmosphere don't have to have his presence ruin the moment. But I think the reality of the situation is, you can't escape his presence. He has his hands in so much on this island. We really don't know how deep this rabbit hole goes, or how deep we can even access right now. I truly encourage people who want to look into this. I've never been able to be this directly involved in an investigation like this, and it really harkens back to something like Herobrine in Minecraft, but real. And it's hard to know if all this is just a drop in a giant ocean of mystery. A mystery where we'll only be fed our answers with updates in time. Although, as a physical presence, the Sunman seems to only lurk in the shadows, the more we learn about his history, the more it seems like he has his hands in everything under the sun.